little girl named Robin Calfee. Now, why I remember Robin Calfee?
Only 100 years ago.
Robin came up and looked at me and she said, "Miss Willie Mae, I think your baby's pretty, even if my mother did say it was ugly." I had to go to St. Louis to apply, and I put on my best black suit and a bright green hat and white gloves and black pumps, and I went to St. Louis to be interviewed. And she said, "Well, what talents do you have?" And she said, "You don't play an instrument." I said, "No, but I can smile and talk." And she said, "But you don't have a college degree." And I said, "No, but my parents were both college graduates, and I had a grandfather who was a college president, and I got something by osmosis." And they took me. And of course, it really changed my life. It was the best thing that could possibly happen to me.
Us too.
So I've been very thankful. I've been very, very lucky. You know, I mean, imagine being stationed in Paris for about 9 months. And that was just pure luck, because a friend of mine was sent there as service club director. This is after I was after the Red Cross days. But she was service club director, and she asked that I go with her. And that was approved, and there I was, just pure luck, because I had this friend who was assigned over there. And then, when it was time, I was stationed in England, of course, for 8 years, later on. And I was thinking I was getting more British than the British. And by the way, the Hardys were over there for 4 years
3
while
years.
I was there, which was wonderful, of course.
Miss Cazort began her work with service clubs during World War II when she was sent overseas with the Red Cross Service Club program. After the war, the Red Cross turned their service club responsibilities over to the military. Miss Cazort remained with the organization and served with the U.S. Army Service Clubs until her assignment to England, when she transferred to the Air Force Service Clubs organization. During her years, Miss Cazort has served abroad in England, Germany, Paris, France, Camp Kilmer, New Jersey, and Denver, Colorado.
one last thing to say. I don't care what you hear about Hillary. She is a wonderful, wonderful woman. And when you think of all the candidates, she's the only one that's really qualified. Those are my last words to you.
Well, I was thinking of out on the islands, when y'all rented a car and went to,
That was Fiji.
yeah, Fiji.
Fiji. We go from Sri Lanka to Fiji.
Fiji was fascinating, but they have an herb called kava. I guess there's lots of kava around, but it's a mild narcotic. And Jennifer was determined that we were going to take some kava. So we rented a car, started off, and the worst roads you ever saw. I've never seen anything in the States begin to compare to it. And then we came to this broad river. It was a very shallow river, but it was very broad. And Jennifer said, I just can't drive back over that. And of course, it was left-hand. Anyway, I couldn't drive the car. It was a stiff. And about that time, a native showed up. And he said, I'll drive your car across. So we got out and we walked across the river. I mean, of course, there was a ford there, you know. There was a lot of us running over it, but there was a ford there. And we joined hands with a woman that was there, and we walked across the river. And this man drove our car across. And it was beginning to get dark, and the next thing we knew, we were stuck in a mud hole. And we didn't have any water, we didn't have any food, we didn't have any insect repellent, and there was no lights anywhere. We were in the mountains. And so we assumed we would be there the rest, the night anyway. But here came a man with a bullock. He said he'd go back and get his other bull, and the two bulls would pull us out of the hole. But about that time, the man that had driven us across the river came up with a truck. And they got us out of the hole. And we got in the truck, or we could stay in the car, I guess, but anyway, somebody else drove instead of Jennifer. And we went to their village. Well, then the Methodist minister, the Methodist
Missionaries.
missionaries, couldn't think of it, had gotten there first, so this village was Methodist. So I told them I was a Methodist.
And you really were. That was strategic.
And of course, it was dark by this time, and we had to spend the night. So all the women of the family and the tribe were in another room, but we were the guests of honor, so we were in there with the men. And we were seated in the room, and they proceeded with Jennifer's call that she gave to have the Tagava ceremony. And I, being the oldest person there, even at that time, was given the first drink out of the coconut shell that was the kava. So I did whatever they did. I forgot now what it was I was supposed to say, and I said whatever it was I was supposed to say. Then we passed the coconut shell to the next person.
And how was it?
Well, it wasn't unpleasant, but it wasn't very pleasant. It was just, I never got a kick out of it.
Okay.
Cynthia was a duchess at the pageant in San Antonio, the annual pageant they have. And it's a big thing in San Antonio. It's the big thing in the social life of San Antonio. And so I was invited, and I needed a dress. And I went to a resale place there in Little Rock and found the perfect dress. It was just exactly right. It fit me perfectly, and it was just right for the occasion. So I wore it, and there was a big party before the pageant, and I went to it, and I was waiting for the rest of my party to come. I was in the atrium of this building, and this nice-looking man came up to me and said, "How charming you look." And I said, "Thank you." And he said, "Thank you for wearing my dress." And it was Victor Costa.
102nd birthday, what advice would you like to give the world?
Moderation in all things. That's Voltaire's motto.
Beautifully said.